Welcome back to Ignite and Inspire, a podcast that provides valuable information to ignite your passions, overcome challenges, and lead more fulfilling and impactful lives. I'm your host, Summer Van, and before we get into today's episode, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. First, go ahead and subscribe to the show so you can stay up to date on future episode drops. Next, don't forget to leave a rating and review. You can scroll down and leave a star rating between 1 and 5 stars. You can also leave a comment to let me know what you've captured from today's episode. Lastly, you can find any additional resources or key takeaways in the show notes below. Sparking inspiration is something that you have to be intentional about, so give yourself props for tuning in and capturing a bit of inspo. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Ignite and Inspire podcast. This podcast is was created to encourage myself, but also others to spark inspiration in everyday life. It's very easy to go through the day-to-day, the mundane, just forgetting to fuel your spirit, fuel your soul. So this was created to ensure that I find inspiration in everyday life, and hopefully you are able to listen to this podcast and find a little inspiration for yourself. Today, I have two very special guests, two of my favorite people. We have Chelsea and Izzy. Izzy, would you rather go by Izzy, Isabel?
Whichever.
Perfect. Yeah. Would you two mind introducing yourselves? We can start, Izzy.
Hey, I'm Izzy or Isabel. I'm from DC and Maryland, currently live in Los Angeles, and yeah, really excited to be here.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Chelsea Sparrow. I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and also living in Los Angeles.
Perfect. Thank you both for coming, for being here. You are the inception of a new chapter for the podcast.
Love that.
Where we're launching into video, but also just getting deeper into how we find sources of inspiration. So really appreciate you two coming and chatting on the show. To kick off, would you mind giving a little tidbit, a little background of yourselves, what you do for work, who you are, how would you describe yourselves? We can start Chelsea this time.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you said background.
Yeah, whatever you feel moved to share.
Okay.
That's critical to who Chelsea is.
Geez, that's deep, low key. But we're gonna keep it light. We already said name is Chelsea. Graduated from the illustrious Howard University. What? That's obviously how we all know each other.
Yeah.
Loved Howard, like really, truly 10 out of 10 experience. Growing up in Louisiana, definitely like a journey going to all white middle high schools. Not a great experience. And I think Howard is something that just brings the best out of you. Like it really does show you your talents. It shows you how to commune with other people of color. It shows you like how to find ways to stand out when everybody is fire.
That part.
And I think it just like creates a level of like, okay, we're in this together. Like we are truly a community. And I feel like that's something that's carried me through some of the hardest times, just like having really, really, really good community coming out of Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I work at Microsoft, and that's also been a journey because like I do have I wouldn't necessarily call it a passion for tech per se, but I do love the way that tech touches all of the other like parts of culture. It touches art, it touches fashion, it touches music. And so my entire time at Microsoft has been me like trying to find a way back to those intersections. And so now I work on our global artificial intelligence team, and I work on a lot of our partnerships and storytelling around how creative communities are using AI.
Period.
And that has been like my connection back to getting into the things that I really love. So again, art, music, fashion, and seeing the ways that people are using technology to fuel the things that they care about. So, yeah.
You're so cool.
The coolest. Oh my gosh.
So cool. Izzy's cool too, guys. So would you mind unpacking?
A whole cool crew right here. But yeah, so also went to Howard. Shout out Howard. And yeah, just plus one to what everything Chelsea said. Like Howard was just a really big part of building and shaping and molding who I am right now. Like for everything that you mentioned. I also, right after Howard, I also started at Microsoft. So I started off in the marketing department. I worked on Bing, so the search engine, doing different marketing campaigns for that. And then I went to the AI and innovation team to focus on more so figuring out how like younger audiences, Gen Z in particular, can learn a little bit more about like the world of innovation. So that was really dope. I mean, I loved the experience, but I think in terms of what I knew I really wanted to do, it always was around like pop culture and merging both worlds of business, marketing, and into those worlds. So touching base on like beauty, fashion, music, entertainment, those have always been things that were pulling me. And I think at a certain point, I was just like, all right, like it's time. I think there's just like an intuitive feeling that you feel sometimes after like just feeling like you've learned everything you needed to and that you've given everything you needed to. So yeah, I just applied for a lot of roles. I spoke to a lot of people and I was able to land a really great position at Amazon Music. So I've been there for about 2.5 years. I started off focusing on Latin and hip hop genres, doing a lot of different marketing campaigns. And I've been across different like live streams, content campaigns. So think like documentaries of artists. And now I'm transitioning to a new role for show marketing under Amazon Music. So think like different programs that we have on the company where artists can come in and do live performances, etc. So doing marketing for that. And yeah, I love it. It's great. I think I feel like kind of like a kid sometimes of like just having sparks of like curiosity and learning. So I think that is a sign that I'm at where I'm supposed to be. So
it like energizes you.
Yeah.
That's kind of
high.
Do you have any big projects that you were like, this was such a great experience?
Yeah, I do. And I'm going to ask you the same question because you've been killing it. But I mean, I think the biggest one was the pop out for Kendrick that just happened on Juneteenth. I was the marketing lead for that. And it was a very, 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 very like just beautiful experience overall. Lots of learnings, lots of just beautiful moments, and really grateful for that opportunity. So yeah. And do you have any recent projects or recent speaking engagements or conferences, experiences you want to share with everyone?
Sure. I'm screaming.
We talk about this a lot, y'all.
Yeah,
so that's why
we're So I recently went to Cannes Lions Festival of Creativity. That was really, really cool. They have a like 30 under 30 creative academy, and I got to do that. And it was just a 10 out of 10 experience. I think to the point of like sparking inspiration for me. It was much needed as someone who kind of like, I wouldn't say, I think this year has been a really good year career-wise, but I feel like there are always those points, even when you're doing something you care about, where you're like, dang, like I need something fresh. I need something different. And that was such a good way to like connect with creatives across the world, to hear from different companies, agencies, whatever, like literally whatever. But yeah, it was just a beautiful experience and like a good time to say, wow, like we, on top of doing things in career, also find opportunities to learn. And it was just a really good learning experience overall. It was a good learning experience.
I love it.
These ladies totally glossed over these monumentous events like they were just nothing, when they were iconic moments and times. Like they're going to go down in the history books, and these beautiful women were at the forefront. Like that's awesome.
Thank you.
I'm going to embarrass myself a little bit, but we do that often on this show. For context, little itty bitty Summer came from Atlanta, went to Howard, and I struggle with anxiety. And I saw these amazing women walking around the School of Business at Howard, and I instantly called my mom and was like, oh my gosh, I have a girl crush. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I have a girl crush. I don't know. They would come and like present in front of our classes and all these things, and I would just try to put myself in the room. Like, it started with the American Marketing Association, and my friends and I would like go back to our dorms and be like, how do we get there? And shout out to God for guiding my path and my journey, but they were a huge source of inspiration for myself and just crafting my Howard journey, my Howard experience, but even post-grad. So I have to give my thanks to you both. And I'm sure you all can see why. But how do you all find those moments of inspiration on the day-to-day? And to your point, Izzy, like, use your curiosity to guide you, and not kind of get bogged down by work struggles, corporate struggles, life struggles, all the things.
I think one thing that has been really helpful lately is following fear. So I've always used fear as like an indication of, okay, avoid, stay away, this is not going to happen. Like, I need to take 3 steps back. And I feel like in the last 2-ish years, every single time something has scared me and I've done it, it's led to like a greater outcome. And there's this other podcast that I really, really like called The Courageous Life, where it talks about how risk and doing things that scare you are like a prerequisite to living a fulfilling life. And once I started hearing that, I'm like, dang, like I never thought about fear in that way of like, okay, doing the things that you're scared of is exactly what's going to get you to a point of fulfillment. And I don't know, like following that and being curious about why does this scare me and what happens if I jump over that hump and like what ways can I grow from that? That's been a really good kind of like, not a guiding principle, but at least like a step, something to help me understand like what's a good next step, you know?
Yeah. I wish I had my notebook. Fear is a prerequisite. That's hot. What about you, Izzy?
Yeah, I think so. And let me know if I missed this, but I think one of the parts of your question was kind of like, how do I know I touched on like continuing to get inspiration and kind of like feel that childlike, youthful kind of like creative. Is that kind of part of your question? I just want to make sure. Okay, sorry, because there's a lot I can
that's real.
talk about. Okay,
and whatever
so
is on your heart.
That's
like,
fair.
Go crazy.
I think leaning on, first of all, I think recently I've been very like careful and attentive of like the content that I've been assuming that, or just like not even content that I've been assuming, but just like what I'm consuming in general, like who I'm around, like what type of messages am I getting? Because I think that all flows into one, kind of like the guiding principles of making sure that you are opening your mind to like creative things, but also like not limiting yourself, if that makes sense. So I've been leaning heavy on just like friends, family, community to just continue to, I guess, like keep the mind open and like have creative conversations, things like that. I think one thing that you were talking about, Chelsea, of like guiding principles, and we talked about this a little bit too, kind of like riffing on that, is understanding that like there's no real clear path, I guess, in a way. So I think for me, it's been really like stepping into the quote unquote unknown, which I think kind of aligns to fear, if you will, but more so like reshifting that narrative of like just writing and vibing and kind of like going with the flow, you know what I mean? And I think when you kind of change that mindset and shift that mindset, you kind of remember that like, oh, I'm gonna get there when I get there, but like I'm not gonna control the timing. I'm just kind of let
it be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that touched on your question, but that's what's on my mind right now. And I think that that's just something to kind of share. It's like not trying to control the outcome, but just knowing that no matter what, because of your intentions, because of who you're around, because of what you're consuming, you're just like in this positive vibrational space where it's like you just know that when it's supposed to happen, it'll happen, but you just gotta like let it rock and continue to like get the inspirations from very creative outlets and like safe spaces.
How do y'all realistically manage the time? Because like we can be cute and creative and like childlike all day, but like you gotta wake up, go to work, eat, work out, pray, talk to family, talk to friends, repeat. Like where do you find the time realistically? Go grocery shopping.
I'm struggling with it. I'm just being honest. I'm struggling with it. And honestly, I'm almost convinced these days that like sometimes it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't. Like I really don't think there's a perfect situation where every single day is gonna look the same and have the perfect like. Today I woke up at 6 a.m. and da da da. Yo, like especially in the spaces, and I don't know if you relate to this, but I just feel like also being in LA, being in entertainment, like it's just different every single day. So I don't, but what I do is think through prioritization. And it's like, waking up every day and being like, what are the things that I really need to do today? Like, yo, my mind is everywhere. I need to go to meditation today. That's my non-negotiable. Oh, I haven't talked to my mom today. Let me call her. Or, oh, I don't know, just like looking at the list of everything you need to do and just picking the top 1, top 3 and knowing that like you can do 1% every day and it's cool. Like, it's not that serious.
That's fair.
That's at least where I'm at right now. But hopefully in the future I can lock it in. But we're working our way.
That's real. That's real.
Plus 100. That was my first thing of like, I'm not managing it. Like, and I also think it's okay to prioritize different things in different seasons.
Yeah.
Like, if right now is the creative, I'm taking in all the inspiration I can, I'm spending all of my times at galleries and concerts and whatever, like, love that, period. But in a different season where work is working, things are thinging, and you don't really have the space to do that as much, like, that's okay. And mind you, we're young. Like, there's probably a better answer to this.
Absolutely.
But in reality, like, I think it's okay if certain things have to fall off. Now, mind you, what I think is also important is understanding what's critical for like your ability to sustain. You know what I'm saying? Like, to your point, meditation. Like, if that's something you know you got to do to make it through a week, then that's got to be what happens at least 3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are the two or three things that you must do? Like, for me, I need to be in my devotional. I need to be praying. Like, I've got to do that or else I'm not going to sustain. So that's got to be a constant. But if everything else has got to flex, then we've got to flex.
That's real.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, I know, probably go next question.
We're riffing.
But I think like also understanding that you can look on Instagram, right? And you can see like your favorite influencer, your favorite, I don't know, like someone that you aspire to be. And it's like, it might look picture perfect of like their routine or their schedule or their little TikTok, but 9 times out of 10, I feel like when we listen to the like behind the scenes, it's not. So I think it's also like putting the pressure away from like, I have to have this strict like beautiful schedule and self-care. Like that looks so different, y'all, from what's being really shown. Like, so I think that's something that people should remember. It's like, we're all going through our own journey. We're all going through our different times, and it might not look like that forward facing, but you just never know how people, you know, are moving for real.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
So, do you think it's realistic to like truly craft a life like it's trendy to like romanticize your life, all these things? Do you think that's realistic in the grand scheme, or do you think this whole like trend of glorifying, romanticizing, making your matcha and like going to Pilates, like, and then waking up for your 9 to 5 and then doing the 5 to 9, like, do you think that's realistic?
I think it is, but I think at the stage personally where I'm at, not yet. I kind of feel like, respectfully, you need certain resources to be at that space at an early age, and I feel like I'm personally trying to build a lifestyle that will allow me to do that, to allow more soft life, and more like a strict kind of flexible schedule. But I think realistically it's not right now, but it's like going back to that 1% so you can build that maybe, I don't know, 10-15 years from now. It just depends on resources, I feel like, in my opinion, but I'm sure there's more to it.
That's
what
true.
you think, Charles?
I think you can find romantic moments, you know? And like, you don't have to romanticize your whole life. Who can romanticize their whole life? Like, let's be for real. You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm sure, you know, hell, if you don't mind me speaking on you, like, you know, you taking like your week here, being in LA, like vibing. And mind you, when you go back to New York, you're grinding it out. But guess what? You had your romantic moments, you know? So I think that's the other thing is like being okay, not romanticizing maybe the whole life.
Yeah.
But like, we can find a moment here and there.
That's
Come on.
fair. That's fair.
Absolutely.
That's fair. Taking a small pivot back, Izzy, I know we talked about this a little bit, and Chelsea, we talk about it. How do you navigate having sometimes tough conversations at work, either with other coworkers or your managers, your higher ups, your team, about maybe work that energizes you, work that doesn't energize you, requesting maybe like boundaries, time off, and just it's supporting your team and the people you work with to help give you what you need in order to be your best self.
Crickets. The answer is crickets. Nah, for real. No, I think the answer is, first off, it's definitely easier said than done. Like, let's be very, very real. But in the day, closed mouths don't get fed. That's a fact. Like, really and truly, the people in corporate and hell, corporate agency, whatever, entrepreneurship, whatever, the people who like are able to craft work that they want to see is because they spoke up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's rare that, and sometimes it does happen where you just like fall into something really lovely, but even then it typically is triggered by like you being vocal on, yo, this is the area that I work the best. And then I also think on a more strategic level, you don't necessarily have to like, let's say you want to work in a certain area, you don't have to frame it as like, I love this area so I want to go work in it, but thinking about how can this benefit my team, how can this benefit my organization, and putting what you want within that, like encased in that. So then when I come and talk to you about, yo, I want to work in art, music, and fashion, but this is how it's going to help you in your podcast, that helps you say, oh, well, Chelsea should definitely be doing that then. You know what I'm saying? But again, easier said than done. And then I will also say it has to be wrapped in a level of discernment, because I think timing is everything. Knowing the right people to talk to is everything. And knowing the people not to talk to is also everything. Yeah. So I'll stop there.
LOL.
Yeah, no, what you said towards the end especially really resonated, because I think there is a formula that it's not something that you can just have on paper, but it's like you got to be strategic and understand how to communicate those needs and those wants. And to your point, it's like it's a timing thing. Like you can't just right off the bat join a new company and be like, hey, so I want to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, nah, like you got to earn your stripes. In other words, you know what I mean? You kind of have to maneuver and understand just like the power of relationships and the power of like learning who you're speaking to then win them over to your point of like, yo, how am I bringing benefit to this person right here to make sure that they can then advocate for me when I need X, Y, and Z, when I want to switch to X, Y, and Z. I feel like that is so important. I think people miss that a lot. Like you got to work for that, in my opinion, if you want to be strategic. But to your question about like, how do you set boundaries? This is something I'm honestly really new at right now, this year in particular. Like I learned a lot just given all just the projects that I've worked on. And I think just like the time I've been at in my career, I've learned a lot in the sense of like, and I've been told this by a few of my close friends and family, like sometimes I can be a little too nice, a little too much of a pushover of like, oh yeah, I'll do it. Oh yeah, I want to do it, just because I like the space so much. Like I love music and like I love what I'm doing, that I'm like, yeah, I'll raise my hand, yeah, I'll do it. And because I know that like I have a vision for it and I want it to come out so successful and I care about what I'm doing. But it's like, hold on, bro, like I'm not getting extra money for this. Like,
be for real.
I'm losing sleep, I'm losing extra time, I'm putting extra hours. So it's like I think this year I guess this year I've learned that about myself and I'm trying to take a step back, but I think it comes with time, and it comes with also having kind of like what I was saying earlier, the trusted people in your space where it's like you can have those conversations and be like, yo, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, like what do you think about this? And have people really check you like, bro, you're doing too much, like you shouldn't be doing this, like this is how you should do it. Yeah, and it's like like just having those real conversations to really take a step back and pause and be like, oh yeah, I need to chill, because you don't want other people to take advantage of that. And you want to make sure that you're just moving strategically as well. So I would say, I don't know if there's like a right answer of like, how do you do it? But I think it's like being aware that you're doing it in the first place, and like having those trusted people where you can talk to and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Like, would you move that way? And then to Chelsea's point, it's like always bring value so you can make sure that you can get what you want to, so it fits everyone's world.
Team.
Yeah. That's real. That's so real. The power of community, for real. Because even like with this week, I took PTO, but my boss was like, we have a lot going on summer. I was like, I can join critical meetings. And shout out to community who was like, summer, no. Like, you're taking PTO, take the PTO. Yep. And my manager ended up like saying like, please, like, just relax, take the time, which is great, but that's so real. It's easier said than done for sure. But even in the essence of community, this is a harsh pivot. I feel like out of all my community, you two are like my fashion icons, and I don't think I can't dress. Like, I think I'm just very basic. But like, y'all know how to put that on to the max. And between going and thrifting in your closet, thrifting in real life, being a DIY queen, being a business owner, like, I think you all truly have it down to a science. So I was curious to know a little bit more about how your brain works when it comes to styling yourself, putting pieces together, determining what will work, what won't work, all the things.
T. I'll let you go first.
Well, first off, oh my gosh, thanks. That's so nice.
Like, I just have this simple dress on, and y'all are like,
no, you look so cute. Nah, I think
never that.
No. Honestly, like, man, fashion and style to me is so like, it's so personal. Like, I don't know. I think it's almost like a love language, in my opinion. Like, it's the way that I go about it. I mean, personally, I just kind of grew up. I think I had a lot of inspirations growing up, if you will. Like, context, half of my side of my family is from Venezuela, the other half is from Haiti. And I think, and I say that to say, like, the side of Venezuela, kind of like what I grew up with and the stories that I grew up with, and also some of the aunties on my Haitian side of the family, like, fashion was always like a big thing. Like, we would just be kind of watching them like sew clothes or like go thrifting and like put cool pieces together and kind of hear stories about that. And I feel like that tradition got passed on to me and my sister, and like just at a young age we would always be going to the thrift store. And I don't know, I just think there's something beautiful about going somewhere and finding something that just like connects with you, and it's like, oh, if I cut this can turn into this. It's just like a fun kind of project and a outlet of creativity. So I think for me it's always been about creative expression and also comfort. Like, trying to be comfy, so like things that I feel good in. And it's also like, when you look good, you feel good. So I feel like I've just always loved playing around with things that make me feel confident and make me kind of feel like the best version of myself. But yeah, I don't know what the formula is. It's almost like a feeling of like, and I think also what I love, last thing, like, of thrifting is like, it's hard for someone else to then jack your style. You know what I mean? It's true. Oh, I'm gonna find that. No one's gonna find this because it's a random ass, like, I don't know, old dad tee. Like
you're not
so
gonna
I think,
find that.
yeah. So I think there's something special in that, of like a collection of what you can use to just express yourself. Yeah, I'm sure more thoughts will come, but I'm gonna pass it to you, Charles.
That's so real.
Funny enough, on the topic of jacking style, I am a Pinterest girl down. I'm a TikTok girl down. I'm an Instagram girl down. Like, I just, anything, and this is what I'll say. Over the last few years, I've liked using social media this way versus like finding exactly what people have on, because I think that then creates like a what's the word?
Overconsumption.
Yeah, overconsumption. Like, you kind of become obsessed with like, I've got to look exactly like What I will say is like curating an idea of like, okay, these are the things that I like, and then like, what about it do I like? Do I like how this stuff is fitted? Do I like these types of accessories? Do I like really bold glasses? Do I like really bold shoes? Like, what are the, you know what I'm saying? But like, what are like the patterns here across all the things that I love? And starting to look for things like that. So one thing I was like, wait, I love a hat now. Like, I love a baseball cap any time of day. So it's like, anytime I see a cute baseball cap, you come with me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think like it's definitely okay to just find the people that inspire you and start to understand like, what are the patterns that stick out to me. And I think that's also how you build your personal style, because it lets you know like, wait, these are the things that I consistently like over years at a time. So that kind of also helps you not be like overly into all of the trends. Because one thing about me, I'll fall for a trend, but we're learning how to take 3 steps back and be like, how can we find things that I know I'm going to love 5 years, 10 years down the line? I think that comes from finding those like patterns of things that you're always drawn to.
Like a timeless
Y'all ever look at like old photos from like middle school or high school when it's like a certain trend and you look at it and you're like,
why would I do that?
In the world was I thinking?
Why would I do that?
And I think there are even things now that I'm going to be like, girl, what
was I wearing? Like, what is up?
But you know, cute for the time. Cute for the time.
I had like a strong Hello Kitty phase.
love
in
that.
middle
But
school.
I feel like that's iconic.
Hello Kitty, yeah,
kind of
she's
that
that
girl.
girl. Y'all know that she's like
Actually a girl.
not a cat.
I saw that
Nah,
video.
I'm not subscribing to
Yeah,
that.
it's weird.
I'm
No,
not subscribing to that. No, ma'am.
weird.
That's insane. She has ears.
And fur
She
and
has a
whiskers.
tail.
Like, be
Yeah,
real.
like,
You're just
come
saying
on.
things.
That's real.
I feel like she was trying to be controversial. No, no,
She was
God.
trying to be edgy for sure.
Come on, y'all.
When did, I know you said this kind of started for you at a very young age, and especially having like the influences of your family. But speaking for myself, I don't have the eye to say like that has potential. I just need to like workshop it a little bit. I'm someone that goes to the store, I see a piece, I'm like, either I get it or I don't. And I think there's multiple layers to it. There's the eye, but then there's also the willingness to just try and take a chance and potentially look insane.
Mhm.
How do you, or how did you develop that comfort, and when about did that start for you? Like that comfort to experiment, to really just do.
It's a good question. I don't know if I can pinpoint it 100%, but I think because I saw others do it before, like the people who I would like look up to, like, you know, different women, like I think that I was just like, this is just what it is. Like, this is what you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to kind of experiment in general with your style. So I think it's like the content that I was consuming at the time and the women that I was looking at, it was like, oh, you can play around with this. So I think that helped. But I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I think closer to like back in the day when I would experiment, sometimes I go out the house and I'd be like, whoa, I look crazy. But then someone would be like, oh, I like this. And I'm like, oh. So I think those little seeds also kind of help the confidence of like, oh, I can just put whatever I want on. So I think it's like, you know, during those seeds.
Yeah.
This is funny. I think this is similar to your question, but it also even transitions to like my natural hair journey too. It's like the more you just do it and the more you hear how it inspires others, it kind of just helps build your confidence as well. Across anything in beauty, fashion, hair, everything. That's at least how I've seen it. So it's like I remember something I try to remember is like, oh, even if I might not feel cute right now, whether it's what I'm wearing or like I don't know how I styled whatever, I know someone out there looks like me.
Yeah.
And is like looking up at me like, oh, like she's rocking for that. I love it. So it's like remembering that too, to not shelter your freedom of expression just based off like the mainstream, I guess, if that makes sense.
That's so hot. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of pivoted a few
No,
places.
that's
So I
so
hope
good.
it turned. I hope we did full circle.
You hit me
No,
with
that
the
would
natural
be-
hair for sure. I'm like, shout out to the heat damage.
It's a journey, y'all.
That's real.
It's a
That's
journey.
real. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, Chelsea, did you have an answer to that one?
Plus 100.
Okay, got you. Copy that.
Period.
We are wrapping up on time. However,
man.
I know. Let me stop. What do you hope people take away from this episode?
That's deep.
If there was like one or two things you're like, don't leave, don't finish listening without capturing this.
I would say like be comfortable being imperfect. I think that goes for like beauty, fashion, it goes for career, self-care, all the things. Like I feel like the biggest journey for me over the last year was learning to, and mind you, we're still learning it, let's be very, very clear, but learning to let go of perfection and understanding how just trying things and being open to failing, being open to messing up, being open to looking stupid is really what gets you closer to everything that you want. Yeah, I don't know. Because I think that also goes back to the thing of following your fear. Like if I'm okay being bad at this thing, if I'm okay with someone telling me no, then it's like, what boundaries do I really have? Like at that point, if you're okay taking L's, like you're literally unstoppable.
That's real.
You know? And again, it's something I am learning, but I'm also having to become okay with just like learning that as time goes on and being imperfect in the being imperfect journey too, you know? So that's mine probably.
That's tea.
I love that. I think this kind of falls in that similar category, but I think what's heavy on my mind and what's been heavy this year, I think is like just knowing that what makes you maybe not quote unquote qualified in your mind, or what makes you different, or what makes you maybe even have self-doubt of whatever you're doing is actually probably your superpower. And it's probably what makes you the best person to be qualified for whatever you want to do. And I think that goes with so many things, career, social things, just entrepreneurship. Like, it's everything. Like, just know that, like, whatever your misfit is just flip it and just make it your power. I think that's something that I've been working on, and I think it's always a journey for everybody, but I really think that might be a key to unlocking a lot of things in life, just across everyone's journey. So I'll leave y'all with that. That's what's heavy on my mind.
That's crazy. I feel like I need to go like meditate, like take out my journal and just dump some things, especially after this conversation. Thank y'all both so much. Where can people find you?
Instagram, Chelsea.DeLeon, or my LinkedIn. Okay, Chelsea Sparrow.
Period. Yeah, y'all can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. Isabel, Laurent. We out here. But yeah, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I'm really excited for what's next.
Yes.
For you.
I'm excited too. I hope everyone is excited as the platform continues to grow and impact. That being said, y'all subscribe, like, comment, share, have combos with your friends, have conversations with me, us, ? And I'll see you on the next episode.
Yay.